podcast is powered by PKF. PKF, your trusted advisor in the Hunter for over 45 years. Down to Business acknowledges the traditional owners of the land and waters this podcast is recorded on.
Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Down to Business. Today I'm joined by James Sneddon. Welcome, James. And the best way I can describe James, I've known him for a while, is serial entrepreneur. You know, I guess he's had exposure to industries such as finance, hospitality, health in general, and more recently, sexual health. So we'll get into that a bit further as we go along the discussion. But again, James, welcome.
Thanks, Andrew.
Mate, I've given you a very high level and I guess varied introduction there in some of your experience. But why don't you give us a bit more about your background? Like I know you started back probably similar to me as a bit of a bean counter back in the day, but you have a very, very varied experience path. That's quite impressive. Tell us a bit more about how you've gone along the journey and where you're at now.
Yeah, so I started as a bean counter. I think that may have been where we met first, Andrew. And that came from, I've got four brothers who are in electrical engineers, and mum didn't want another one. So pushed me into accounting, and I always had this interest in business and what better place to start. Got ADHD, which sort of flowed into a mixed bag of a career, and being a little less risk averse, and I ended up on this path of entrepreneurship.
So you started out, way back when. The first one, if I stand corrected, was jump into a cafe. Was that the first jump?
Yeah. Basically, I went into hospitality. I entered a business partnership that fell through really quickly, and then I was left I left work for this partnership. Didn't work out, and then I was left with no job, nothing, and then I realised we needed a cafe across the road in Llewellyn Street, Mayweather, and that's where we built it. Yeah, right. Started again.
So I'll come back to that point. You left, obviously, to go into a partnership. So without going into detail, what was the learnings out of that one?
Partnerships like marriage, I guess. You don't know someone until you're in there with them. You should probably spend a lot of time with them beforehand. I guess getting out of it quickly was a good thing. Recognizing it early, that it wasn't going to work between us. That's probably what helped. I still had failed partnerships later, so I couldn't say I learned everything there. Just be careful, I guess.
Yeah, because it's I guess for a lot of people, actually, leaving their safety net and having a crack is a big step in the first place. Having something fall over would generally be enough for most people to go, no, not for me. You've continued on. So how? Talk to me a bit about the cafe that you started and where you went on to from there.
Yeah, well, I guess I'm grateful for the partnership for getting the chance to, someone else. We bounced off each other to go make that leap from employment to business, and then building the cafe was literally, there wasn't one there. There was an opportunity there. I was young. I was dining out all the time. I think a lot of people think about hospitality businesses from that perspective too. I thought, I could do this. Turns out it's a lot harder. Well, everyone knows it's a lot harder than that. And the business went. I built it. I think we opened 12 weeks after signing the lease. We had a development consent and we opened because we sneaked in the development behind council. And then what we learned was everything went over budget. I guess nothing went to any of my really poor short plan I had at the time. I think I had a 25 grand budget. We spent 110 grand at the time. Money left in the till, but I got location, I got cheap rent, I got all these things working for it that went really well. That business from the partnership failure was then an immediate success.
Yeah, good. And obviously you moved on from there. What was the next one?
So I doubled down. I thought I was really good with one restaurant, but all those other factors were affecting how good it was going. So we doubled down, opened another restaurant, and very quickly I was about 300 grand in the hole. And then the rest of my hospitality career was a bit of a mixed bag. It's just a really tough game, but I learned a lot. And I ended up leaving the industry after several venues and 6-7 years with a bar raffle.
Yeah, I do recall that. That was quite. I don't know if I've ever heard anyone else doing that. So it was. I mean, effectively, you had the vision that I wanted to sell. And so talk us through that. You actually sold your business.
Yeah. So it was a trade promotion, and I was exploring different ways of exiting, because we had put the bar up for sale, but no one wants to pay what you've put into it or what it's worth. And that's the nature. It's really hard selling businesses anyway, exiting. So the trade promotion followed. Another family raffled off their island resort in Micronesia, I think. And that was a great success. And I was like, everyone wants the bar. Going back to my thoughts on the cafe, everyone wants that. I think they do. Pre-COVID, they did. And yeah, I gave it a crack. Basically, I had another business, I had a young family at the time. I had to leave hospitality. So the rest of my situation. So I guess I just threw caution to the wind and went for the trade promotion, and it was a great success.
Yeah, because was it, from memory, 12,500 tickets?
Yeah, we sold 12,500 tickets, but they were effectively vouchers to the restaurant.
Yep.
10,000 were from interstate or overseas though, so they weren't coming in to use them. But yeah, it effectively launched into that. They then got an entry into that raffle and then went from there.
I think the message for me here is really thinking outside the box. I mean, to even understand someone else had done that was a concept. I mean, you must be reading a fair bit and looking at general business knowledge, I guess, or building yours online.
Yeah, listening to podcasts constantly. I'm just constantly absorbing from a sponge. Don't necessarily learn everything quickly, but I'm just constantly repeating, and audiobooks and podcasts, news. I'm all over everything. I try to be.
Yeah,
everything.
That's a great point, because too many people, I think, and whether it be in employment or business, they get to sort of the head, if you like, or a senior position and think, well, I've made it, or I haven't got time, I've got to look after everyone else. But that constant, I guess, challenging and growth, it really does make a difference.
Yeah, you definitely have to commit that time to just yourself, clear your head and your study. I think Bill Gates did that. Bill Gates would do took a couple of weeks a year, and just locked himself in a room with books. So that's a great example.
No, I mean, Tony Robbins is a bit the same. I think there's a period there he's written 400 books in a year or something. But, I mean, these are obviously well-known names, etc. But, I mean, for someone to sit there and say, well, I can't read 10 pages a day or something, I think it's a bit, a bit of a furphy when we can watch Netflix or turn on the stupid box, So that's a good point. So you got out of hospitality. You said you had another business.
Yeah. So before I finished hospitality, I launched my healthcare business, which is now Hyphen Health, and we began with Stigma Health, and that's now grown to Australia's largest sexual health clinic. And we also do some harm minimisation for performance and image enhancing drugs. So guys on steroids, we can help them out, not with the drugs, but with harm minimisation. But yeah, that came from, I guess, one of my exit. Look, I was looking to another business away from hospitality. At the time, everyone was doing an Uber for something, and I was looking for an Uber for doctors, and ended up pivoting into realizing doctors don't want to be more on demand. So we pivoted into sexual health, which we thought was just perfect for people don't want to talk to their doctor about it. Studies show this, and doctors actually don't have the conversation with the patient.
But I'm fascinated by that's a big leap from hospitality to sexual health, and I know there's been a few little details along the way there, as you've just explained, but it's very niched in that sexual health space. So how did you actually even come about that to understand, well, there's a market?
Yeah, so I was initially seeing the doctors, not for sexual health at the time. It wouldn't matter if it was, but I was there for my 11 o'clock, and I didn't get to see the doctor till 1 p.m. And that's where, my restaurant was across the road at that stage. I had work to do. I didn't want to be seeing the doctors for something that I knew what I needed as well, like So that's where it just came to. I was also living in Merewether, where all the doctors live. Can't blame them. And I thought, new doctors are down the road. Maybe someone could just come write me a script after hours. Like, I'll just pay for it. But they don't want to do that. I got an introduction to Dr. Mitchell Tanner through Dr. Michael Dan, my rugby coach at the time. Played rugby against Mitchell at Singleton. We started exploring this Uber for doctors and how we could be a part of this. And then, he basically pointed out the doctors don't really want to be more, they're in demand. There's not enough. Yeah. And we just agreed that, if we're going to do it, why don't we do it by forms, text-based, and sexual health is just perfect. It's a really underserved niche, and people don't want to talk about it, they don't talk about it, but sexual health is recognised by the World Health Organization as fundamental for overall health. And like testing in Australia, there's only 700 to 800,000 tests a year, but there's 8.5 million people from 18 to 29 who, by guidelines, should be tested annually. Obviously, changes with relationship status, but some of those should be probably tested quarterly. So there's a market there. That's 10 times what the testing is. We're just looking to increase that rate.
So realistically, business is about the testing phase, or is there more along the journey?
Yeah, so we're adding more and more. We're effectively a general practice, but we just do one thing or a couple of things now. And we organise people just complete a form, or now they can have a telehealth consult, which is bulk billed. So we've got free testing nationwide, and they get the referral from the doctor, and they can go get tested at any pathology clinic in Australia.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's our service at the moment. And similarly, the roid safe, Pete works the same with steroids.
So these, I guess, realistically, you've built a business that doesn't require a lot of physical infrastructure, because you're tapping into, the existing GP network, I guess, and yours is more, as you said, the Uber, but the online business, if you like, to bring it all together.
Yeah, and look, until May this year, we only had 2 doctors, including Dr. Tanner, and we're doing this last financial year, we did 1 in 25 diagnoses of HIV Australia-wide, 1 in 40 chlamydia, and we're doing 1 in 35 tests nationwide. So it's a very fragmented industry, but we're now market leader. We're now got the leadership position because of the scalability, but there's still more to do. Now we've introduced appointments, so we've gone from 2 doctors to 9 in the last 2 months, and we're adding more. And it's doing the telehealth appointments isn't scalable, but it's a necessary part of our business to complete the patient welfare. So, but most of our service exists without appointments. It's just those 9 out of 10 appointments. So the 1 out of 10 appointments that has a positive result needs an appointment, or those who want to pay, not do asynchronously, text-based, want a free test, basically, they can wait for an appointment and get one online.
Okay. And I guess how's the take up by, you said you had 2 doctors, but you're obviously tapping into, non-employed doctors, if you like, through this networking aspect. How's the take up by other doctors?
Yeah, so glad you raised this. Initially, where our doctors were all doing, it was their 3rd job, because doctors all had 2 jobs already. Even Dr. Tanner has his practice. He works in Singleton Hospital, and then he works with us. So all our doctors that were joining were doing as a 3rd job, but now we're already in our 2nd month of this. We're a real career opportunity, which is the way I'm trying to reposition the role with us, because a lot of doctors view telehealth, and they've said it to me, they saw it as a step back, or it's just not sound clinically, but now we're doing the volume. Like, you're going to get more experience in sexual health with us in a week than you will in general practice. So we've just repositioned it, and we've found attracting staff. We've got a number of doctors. We've got a pipeline of doctors which we need for adding more appointments. So
if you think, we spoke a lot about the stigma, I guess, around, and hence in the name, but stigma around sexual health from a user's point of view, or a patient point of view, but also what you're getting at is, well, as you said, I think telehealth generally, not just sexual health, but telehealth is a step back. So it's really changing a cultural perception from an industry point of view of the doctors as well.
Yeah, and that's look, some competitors are just not as transparent with their roles, their advertising, and they're asking for things that aren't necessarily accepted in health practice or sound clinically. We've got that sound clinical offering, we've got supported by academic research, and then we're doing more testing than anyone else in Australia, so it's supported by our own evidence. Really, that value on all fronts. It's fulfilling, it's lucrative, it's a career enhancing role via telehealth. So, and then they can do it all from in their pajamas if they want to. But yeah, the beauty of work from home.
Well, it's tapping into that the new way, isn't it? I mean, I think COVID was probably call it an instigator, if you like, of changing the way we work. There's a lot of businesses I know that I deal with that would never think about meeting with a client or a customer, even doing a proposal or a general inquiry over the phone or more importantly a video conference. Now it's common practice. Now I think there's a fine line there where it's too far versus what is required face to face, but it definitely opens up a world of opportunity.
Yeah, and that's why we've stuck to our niche, whereas others have broadened. You can't do everything in telehealth online yet, but so we stick to what we think is achievable, doable.
So I want to come back to some of the business stuff in a minute, but like we alluded to before, you're talking sexual health, an awkward topic for a lot of people. How do you even approach that when you're a fairly young bloke yourself? If you're looking at a general market, or you're pitching to, I mean, probably not the GP community because this is in their domain, but from a business sense, it's a message that a lot of people don't want to talk about. So how do you go about that? Or how do you get around it?
Yeah, well, I guess early the attraction was, when we started exploring it, the statistics were just like 15% of under 29-year-olds, which I was like 27 at the time, 15% of that market had ever been tested. And then if you took out this absolute minority of the LGBTQI community, only 9% of heterosexuals in that population had ever been tested back then. So I was just looking around, at the rugby club, and you're just like, if you asked all those guys who's been tested, or they would probably say yeah, or 9 out of 10 are lying. But there's a real need there. So that's where we followed that through. And then in terms of, look, I've got no qualms talking about it. I'm very, very proud of what we do. It's all about being sex positive, which I guess that's the way the world's going as well. People are more sex positive now, even than when we started, except for social media. Meta is deleting all sex, anything, cutting out influencers, etc., which is a whole other battle of stigma. I'm going on a tangent there. But yeah, our dealing with it, it's just, again, it comes back to being sex positive. Just recognizing that sex is just something we do, fundamental, like taxes. So it's, fundamental part of being human.
Well, I think just even talking to you now, what's been clear I don't know if it's clear, but it's been quite educational. Like, I don't know if you realise, you jumped into your first business, with a general thought process there. It's got to work, but not much to back that up. You've jumped into this business, which a lot of people probably say, is it even a business? But you've done all the research. You've got a data to back it up and say there's a big need here. I guess whether you've even realised that, the journey and the learnings you've had along the way, but it shows me, look, you found a market, and there's a business opportunity where you've got, that market. So, I mean, that's a cracker. But you can see the difference between way back when, with the first cafe or restaurant to the business now.
Yeah, and that's it. I started exploring this in 2014. We incorporated in 2015, and we served our first customer in November 2016. So we just did the due diligence, and I guess that was probably a benefit from working with a doctor who was unaware of his clinical governance. probably slowed me down a bit. That's the way the right partnership works. A really complementary team.
Mm. And I guess, thinking about it, do you think, this day and age we've got, less bulk billing occurring, I guess, because of the lack of doctors' availability. And I get that whole concept. But monetizing this type of thing, do you think the actual, stigma around that sexual health and people want to be private and that about it is part of the, I guess, success story as to why it's a commercial viability?
Yeah, it did take a long time though. We blew our advertising budget early. And we were a lot cheaper when we started too, but it just took a long time to get trust. After COVID, it brought trust. All of a sudden, everyone was used to telehealth very quickly, which really improved, because I used to get emails almost daily saying, "I've signed up, I've paid. Is this a scam?" And just like, well, no. We had to talk them through constantly. And then people were willing to pay for the convenience. We changed that instant referral. They get it immediately. There's no appointment, no wait. We have just introduced a bulk billing service where there is an appointment and a wait for those who just have that value proposition. They will wait a few weeks for an appointment or wait. There's no wait list at the moment though, because it's a new service. But
you're saying you have a tiered service level and appropriate prices accordingly.
Yeah, that's a perfect way of summarising it. Thank you.
So, mate, fascinating. We could probably talk about that all day, but I've got some other things we want to cover off on. I guess coming back to right back when you said, I guess having that partnership or what you thought was going to be a partnership made it that bit easier to make the jump. But what's some of the other considerations? And I guess with hindsight, you would have people, or you could help people think about before they actually leave that safety net of, I'm getting a wage each week and being employed, to just going out on your own.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, because in many ways I wish I just did it sooner, because there's so much you learn working for yourself. And then in other ways I wish I did it took a bit longer, especially joining hospitality. I should have gone and worked in a pub. Okay, I did a little bit of hospitality in the UK, but I didn't do any operationally. I'd done accounting with pubs, and I've seen that side of it, but there's nothing like pouring the beer yourself. And so I couldn't give you a clear. There's strong arguments for going both ways, and just when the time was right. But before that, I took that opportunity. I was annoying every business broker in Newcastle, getting financials off them, signing confidentiality agreements, looking at buying any opportunity. I was looking, and I had business plans. I had a top 10 of what I was going to do in businesses. I just never took that leap. I was basically exploring business for so long, since high school. When I took the leap, I do kind of wish I started earlier to make those mistakes earlier and get to where I am earlier. But it may not have worked out that way because of the experience. So.
Yeah, sure. No, I mean the story. I guess that experience and that journey speaks for itself. In the learnings, as you said. But and what's the appeal about working for yourself? Because a lot of is it control. I guess you're the master of your own destiny, if you like, or
you're very much under everyone else's influence. So I don't think you realise you're serving every customer, you're serving your staff, you're basically signing up for servant leadership, basically, really. And that's the way I do it. I just love helping. So I love helping my team, building my team. Supporting them, supporting their families, and then I love supporting our customers, our patients. I was just saying before this started, I'm about to port my mobile phone number, because 27,000, almost 30,000 patients in Australia have my mobile phone number. Not many of them realise it, but plenty do. And I get messages at all times of day. But that's just the customer service approach, which isn't necessary anymore. I mean, it is still necessary, but I've got a team to start responding. So you just when you're going on your own, you're just responsible to everyone.
But I think that's probably a bigger point than what you realise, because a lot of people, don't have that view and then wonder why things don't necessarily work out. And you know, as you said, you've had probably various businesses, some more successful than others, but you're here in quite a good position now with a story to tell, where a lot of people don't have that same approach and don't end up the same way.
Yeah, like at 24, 25, when became my own boss, I was very much like, that's what I employ you for. And looking back now, you're just like, yeah, you wish you could tell yourself to not be a little so and so, and just you could have done things so much better and handled that relationship better. And I guess I burnt bridges and learned the hard way.
Yeah. And I mean, if I can touch on that point, I mean, you said you're a sponge and all the rest of it. And I mean, if you're like me, I remember when I first went into the business world, and it was all about reading business books and autobiographies of people that have done it and that sort of thing. I guess now it's all about with I guess hindsight, call it maturity. Maybe that's not necessarily there, but it's more about relationships and mindset and that sort of thing. What's your journey been to actually? I mean, one, to admit that, to grow and realise that, hey, maybe I didn't do that the right way before.
Yeah, just as much as I'm working on business, it's constantly working on yourself. And I'd say only the last couple of years I've realised what I need to do for myself. So I used to, in hospitality, I'd be working from 6 to 8 a.m. starts, finishing at midnight, and I could just do it. I had undiagnosed ADHD. Now, I know I clock off at 5 o'clock. I maybe occasionally, I had a meeting last night with Dr. Tanner at 8 o'clock, but I really try to avoid that because I'm not someone who gets back to bed after those meetings. I can start earlier, but I'm finishing in family time, 4:30, 5 o'clock. Just investing in myself personally, making sure I'm still getting to rugby, or attending my fitness, seeing my therapist, and just looking after yourself, and trying to be better to everyone around you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great points, mate. Really great points. I want to touch on, because we went through all the different businesses, and I'm sure there was some other things in between there. But at all times, as you said, one point you're in the hole for 300, and other points you said you opened just with the money in the till, etc. Whilst I still say to everyone, cash is king. It doesn't matter what business. You have to become pretty resourceful when you do have limited funds. So, what's some of the things around you've done in making things work with limited resources?
Yeah, so even our current business, we're basically bootstrapped. We attracted 140 grand in angel funding, which was awesome, which allowed me to go full time in this business. But yeah, working around that, just being resourceful is, in hospitality, it's a lot harder, and I definitely don't recommend it. Like, you go into hospitality, you can do things on the cheap. It's not necessarily going to give you the quality outcome that you're going to get your good results for, and I think that hurt some of my businesses. So I definitely wouldn't recommend it in there. And then the most basic way to be resourceful is to just do everything yourself. But then you're looking at, with the new business, what we learned is, when you do stick to a niche and you get that to do that well, it becomes really well-oiled machine, and you just keep perfecting, and it just becomes better, and then it becomes more scalable. And I guess that's how we did it with the limited resources. In addition, I guess the biggest thing for us is getting the word out there and the marketing.
And I was going to say, because marketing was my next point. A good especially for a startup, you can be talking hundreds of thousands that you could easily sink into marketing, especially with all the different channels. I'm gathering you haven't got hundreds of thousands. So what have you done about that?
Yeah, when we started, we blew 50 or 60 grand in a couple of months, and it only took us to a few hundred customers with the sexual health. And then since then, it's just been going on what we need. We needed the acquisition cost to be below revenue. We need to be profitable. I think someone called it box one. We need to be profitable per every customer that signs up. So that's how we do it, and then we just keep driving the acquisition cost down, and making sure that gap's there, the profitability.
So for listeners or viewers, talk me, what's an acquisition cost? Let's break it down.
So yeah, the customer acquisition cost is every dollar we spend to bring that customer on board. Initially, I think it was well over $100 we were spending on Google AdWords, for instance, per customer that was coming on. We didn't have the message refined. We didn't have the SEO working optimized. And then similarly, to bring that cost down, we invested in improving SEO, improving the keywords we targeted, and time of day, etc. With all those sources. So to bring that cost down, then you become unit profitable, and then you can keep reinvesting, finding where you can spend $1 to make $4, and that's what we constantly look at.
And for my curiosity, what's your customer acquisition cost now?
It hovers between about $8 and $10.
Oh, so that's a significant reduction.
Yeah, we're profitable on the first time they sign up, and then our repeats are growing. So patients have been with us now 7 years, and I think we're averaging 2 consults. But some people signing up every month. Depends on their lifestyle or risk factors.
So within that, but just by that last couple of lines you've said, you're big in data. Yeah.
So the data is what supports us clinically, and then what supports all the decisions. And that's basically my big job for July now, is just reviewing. We've had a lot of exploring. Our acquisition cost has crept up a little bit just because we've been exploring new channels to advertise. So we've got billboards and buses and radio, and we're trialing it in different areas to have the. Yeah, we couldn't just do it in Newcastle because I'm from Newcastle. My network's from Newcastle, so we do it in Geelong, where I know no one. And we can run similar campaigns. We can just see what the tale of two cities basically to compare. And similarly, we just started campaigns in Port Hedland to see, a bus there. There's less buses. It gets seen more frequently. Maybe the bus advertising can work better there. We then rack that data up, and then you review to make the decisions going forward.
The key one out of that, we work with a lot of clients on their strategy, and when we're looking at things like this, we say, well, if you don't measure it, you can't manage it. So, you're big by the sounds of it on measuring all different, data points.
Yeah. And you're really looking for a trend, though. You're not looking. I used to be really hung up on how specific you can be. Like you want, glaringly obvious green light, but it's not quite like that. So, you got to make some assumptions, but you can see the overall behaviour changing.
No, it's a great point. So, and I love that for anyone listening around that customer acquisition cost. I don't think there'd be too many, in SME land, wouldn't be too many people really focused on that area. But, you just said you brought yours down by, it'd be better, but say 1/10 in your acquisition cost, hence the profitability. So come back as attention to marketing. You've mentioned rugby several times, and you're networking. Not to focus just on rugby, but I know we've come across paths there. But how's been the power of networking, not just in your current business, but in all your businesses for that matter, and even getting the leg up into connections or whatever it may be?
Yeah, it's really important. And I was just listening to a great audiobook actually. I think it's Barking Up the Wrong Tree, and they pointed, and I feel like it summarised what my approach to networking is, and it's genuinely friendships, genuinely connecting and sharing and helping someone, and then it will pay back later. Like that's how friendships work. You will be there for each other in other times. I just went to the Digital Health Festival in Melbourne a month ago, and I got to see all these suppliers and friends now that I've worked with for 8 years. I got to see them in person for the first time because we're all remote. But it was just great to have that networking opportunity, but it's really just to catch up and just seeing each other, and just so much more opportunity comes out of that. So,
and I guess that's you scratch my back, I scratch yours type thing. But what's some of the as you would have seen, you've been networking for a long time. There'd be experiences that have been better, and some that have been not so good, if you like, or lucrative. What's some of the, habits about networking that have benefited you more than not?
Yeah, getting out of the house. I guess because I've been working from home now since COVID. I got into the I2N Accelerator last year with Newcastle, and I think that was actually a big leap forward for me. did. It got me out of the house, got me meeting people, peers, got me mentors. Just getting in the face to face, and then not pursuing the sale every time. But when people on the hard sell and the networking, like they approach you on LinkedIn, I approach everyone on LinkedIn all the time, but it's always like, and it's it's about the forward relationship. It's not about wanting something right now. So it's just, I might listen to their podcast and go, just send them a congratulatory message and just say, look, I found that really relatable. Or just let them know they're doing good stuff. And that's how I would see to start planting the seed for what could be fruitful later.
That's a great point. But we talk about in sales, and a lot of people say we don't sell or we don't like sales, but everyone sells in business. It's more about how you position it. I think you just raised a good point. I always say, well, what are you selling? You're selling the next step, and that step might just be a follow-up meeting, or it might be, as you said, a congratulatory email or something like that. So, yeah, it's a good point. Mate, so obviously now you've been operating businesses for many years. What's some of so you mentioned data, you've mentioned, marketing, that sort of thing. What are some of the other habits you do, call it religiously, to make sure you're on top of your business or where the opportunities are?
Yeah, I also mentioned look after yourself. I make sure you do my exercise and spend my time with my family. And then in terms of work, checklist. I can't go past the checklist. I've dispensed the notepad and gone to a remarkable tablet, which I absolutely love. Keeps my desk a lot cleaner. I've recognised my shortcomings with my ADHD and the advantages of it. I was diagnosed at 27, and I would not having a notebook and being tidy to one tablet, it's been just a real game changer for me. And it's a very expensive checklist, $900 to just write and tick it off every day. And then also recognising that checklist can't get to 10 points effectively. It has to have the 2 to 3 deal breakers that day, which an old mentor in accounting called it, big rocks. I think Tony Robbins talked about big rocks, small rocks. So I really work to that principle every day. Just pull up every day what I'm gonna do today to make a difference, the best difference in my business.
Yeah, good. That's a good point. A good point. And okay, it's a bit of reflection now. What you've given us a few lessons right through what we've just been talking about, but what would you say some of your, or even one or two of your biggest lessons, maybe via mistakes, that you've had in your business journey?
Not budgeting effectively. Just being maybe overly optimistic. I tied in with that. That was my entry into hospitality. Like really, it's an industry where the bigger, better players, they've got the best renovation, they've got the best fit out, they've got. Now, some people can do it differently with all your op shop furniture. That was very much a trend of cafes when I started, and it still is around, but it's not necessarily the scalable version I was trying to build. Budgeting up front was definitely a lesson to learn on. At the same time, I think it's really hard to stick to any budget when there's so many unknowns, like especially with what we're doing now, which is just so new. Carving out, like we just knew the budget was what was in the bank, and it only grew when the bank grew. So there's times that we actually just stopped all activities and let the organic build back up. And actually, that was a really good wake up call, because when we turned everything off, we realized we're still growing, and that was a blessing in disguise.
But that's obviously a very different approach to the original businesses.
Yeah. Well, I spent 10 years planning them, really, like looking at all these business plans and looking at how I thought I could improve this business and what it would take and what it meant, and still had no idea because I'd never done it. So.
Yeah, great. Probably my final point, best advice you've ever received, if we haven't covered already.
Oh. No, that's a hard one. Just do it, probably. Just you gotta take the step. Do that next step to get the ball rolling.
Yeah, look, I think yeah, it's a great one because too many people won't get out of their comfort zone, and a very small percentage will actually make a leap or do something different, etc. So I guess the other side of that is there's a lot of opportunity for those that will, but as you've taken us through, in this discussion, a lot of the stuff you've learnt now you do things differently. So there is a way to take the leap. We're still putting some risk parameters around yourself or some safety nets.
Yeah, well, I didn't touch on our biggest approach is really that MVP, minimum viable product. We launched our Prep Health Clinic with $2,000 investment, building another site, replicating what we do, and even the content wasn't even up to date. It was still just copied from our other site, so it wasn't even relevant, some of it. But we were just like, are people going to buy this service? And they did, and we realised very quickly. And then you start reinvesting and fixing the service that you've just sticky tape together.
Mm. So we better give it a plug. You've mentioned Hyphen helps the group, and you've got Stigma Health and Prep Health.
Yep.
So websites.
Yeah. So Hyphen Health covers all operations, all corporate entity, and then we run the 3 we call them clinics, but they're all websites, and it's Stigma Health, Prep Health, and then roadsafe.com.au. Roadsafe.com.au, prep.health, and stigmahealth.com.
Check them out. Yeah.
Check them out. Get an STI test. They all work in principle the same way. So they've already replicated. They all organise referrals. And that's our real strength. We're integrated with every pathology clinic Australia-wide.
Mm. So. And what's the strategy for the immediate future to medium term?
Right now, it's growth. Focus on our core product, like our alpha product. We're going to bring in some beta products, backline to supplement those services that people are already in there for sexual health, for instance. We've just got so much growth. We've tested some other services, but we're just growing. Yeah.
Mm. Oh, it's a good problem to have.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have.
Mate, we've covered a lot. I'm going to try and capture a few points for listeners and viewers. I think, you've said make sure you continually learn, grow that knowledge, be a sponge. I love what you said about having to pivot, sometimes out of, limited resources or the unknowns you've had to, but too many business owners, I think, or people with ideas get stuck in their way, and you need to listen to your market and measure and listen to your results and make sure you pivot. The niching, we've had niching come up in several of these videos, but yours is real niched, and I think what the good point is how much you've learned along the way, and you've actually had the data to back it up and go, right, that's who we go. So I think for many people, you really do need to think about, am I offering everything to everyone, or can I be a bit more pointed? Making sure you do take, I guess, that view that you are a servant of the business. You are there to serve it, and you need to buckle down, especially when you've got limited resources. So that's a great point. You said about the importance of due diligence. Obviously your view on due diligence has grown over time, but it's good to see where you're at now. Love what you said about looking after yourself. To me, that's a massive one. You go into business generally for more time, more money, lifestyle, etc., and then you meet business owners that go, "How's that going for you?" It's not too good. So looking after yourself, I think, without that, you're not going to be good for anyone. The networking, definitely a two-way street, and it's not always about selling all the time. So a great tip there, using your data and looking for data trends, and that one about that customer acquisition cost. I don't think that's ever been brought up in these podcasts or before, and I think a lot of people get something out there. And then your other point about checklist, you can't remember everything. Having your checklist and focus on your big things to knock off each day, great point. So, mate, I'm sure I've missed plenty, but there's some good points there. And, mate, I thank you for the opportunity to learn more about, the group and what you're doing. It's great to see, where you've come to, and you have a bit of success now. So, mate, well done. Here's to a big future, and thanks for joining us on Down to Business.
Thanks, Andrew.
Cheers, mate. Till next time, cheers.